Okay, at the jail there, sir, is your name Casey Cobb?
Sure.
Okay, it's just going to be 1 second. I'm waiting for a couple other people to connect here.
Good.
Okay, I think we have everybody connected, so we'll go on the record. This is People versus, oh, hold on 1 second. I see that Mr. DeLeo from probation is trying to connect. I don't know if he's having technical difficulties. But we have Mr. Rolla present, so I'm going to go ahead and call the case. And again, this is People versus Casey Cobb. This is case number 216080. The record should reflect that Mr. Cobb is present today by video from Otsego County Jail. We have Mr. Rolla here on behalf of the people, and hopefully Mr. DeLeo is able to sign on. We have Mr. Brown appearing on behalf of others. Okay. Okay, Mr. DeLeo, we're just getting started. For the record, Mr. DeLeo is present by video as well. We have Mr. Brown present on behalf of Mr. Cobb. Mr. Cobb, you're before the court today for an arraignment on an alleged probation violation. Have you been made aware of what the alleged violation is?
I have, sir.
Okay. I need to go through a few things with you with regard to your rights. First of all, you do have the right to have a hearing as to whether or not you violated your probation as alleged. You also have the right to have a lawyer present at any subsequent proceedings. If you can't afford a lawyer, one would be appointed for you at public expense. Mr. Brown, I believe, was your counsel on the underlying case, and he's present today for purposes of arraignment. If you are found guilty of the alleged probation violation, because it is a non-technical violation, it could subject you to the maximum possible penalty on your underlying charges, which is up to 4 years. So do you understand all those things I've just stated to you?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Brown, did you have a chance to speak with Mr. Cobb prior to the hearing today?
I did have an opportunity to speak with him, Your Honor. He would qualify for an attorney. However, based on my conversations with him, and I did go over the various options that he was entitled to an attorney, he was entitled to a hearing, and the court can verify this with Mr. Cobb, but it is my understanding that at this time he might enter a guilty plea.
Okay, Mr. Cobb, is that how you wanted to proceed today?
Absolutely, sir. There's no question.
All right. Did you
I'm
need any more
responsible.
time? Did you need any more time to speak with Mr. Brown, or did you want to have some time to do that before we go forward?
I there was just one thing I forgot to mention to him. I'm not sure on the bearing. It would only be, I mean, wouldn't fall on the court anyway, I don't think. I just did forgot to mention that in regards to my hepatitis, I currently have the medication for the Maverick for it at home. My concern is that it's gonna go bad. I just forgot to mention that with him. Other than that, no, sir.
Okay. All right, can you raise your right hand, please? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Cobb, you understand that by pleading guilty, you're going to be giving up the right to have a hearing?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and again, that it will subject you to the maximum possible penalty on your underlying charges, which would be up to 4 years. Do you understand that as well?
Yes, sir, I do.
With those things in mind, what is your plea to the probation violation today?
It doesn't change the fact that I'm guilty, sir.
All right, has anybody threatened you with anything to get you to plead guilty?
No,
Has anybody promised you anything to get you to plead guilty?
not at all. No, sir.
Is it your own free choice to enter this plea?
Yes, definitely.
And are you pleading guilty because you did violate your probation?
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay, back in October, I'm sorry, May of 2023, so about a year ago, were you on probation? You may have been being supervised somewhere else, but was your probation out of Otsego County here?
Yes, sir.
And were you aware that one of the conditions of your probation was that you were to report to your agent regularly or as instructed?
Yes, sir.
And did you fail to do that?
Yes, sir.
All right, the court finds that the plea is knowing, voluntary, and accurate. The court is satisfied there's a factual basis to support a finding that Mr. Cobb did violate his probation as alleged. The court will accept the guilty plea. In terms of sentencing, Mr. DeLeo, how did you want to proceed on behalf of the probation department?
Judge, we'd be prepared to make a sentencing recommendation right now if Mr. Cobb wanted to waive his right to have a probation violation report completed.
Okay, so Mr. Cobb, you do have the right to have an updated report prepared, and so I could set this for sentencing on a different day, and we can go through that process, or we can go forward with sentencing today. I can also give you a chance to talk to Mr. Brown about that if you'd like to do that.
No, I believe Mr. Brown and I had already covered this possibility, and I'm ready to go ahead. I don't want to waste anybody else's time either. If the probation department's ready, sir, I am too.
All right, thank you. Mr. DeLeo, what is the recommendation for sentencing?
Your Honor, at initial sentencing, the court had ordered 6 months jail with credit for 4 days and held that time in abeyance. We would simply recommend that 6 months would be imposed with the credit for 4 days and revoke probation and discharge unsuccessfully, preserving any fines and costs that remain outstanding.
All right, thank you. Mr. Brown?
Your Honor, in my speaking with Mr. Cobb, again, I did have him on his underlying charge. This was back in 2021. He did not make any excuses. He was very forthright and forthcoming with his violations. He did inform me that several things had happened to him. His dad had passed away. He just had a granddaughter, I believe. His brother was diagnosed with ALS. He's supposed to be starting a job coming up very soon here. Honestly, with all of these things in his life, he stopped reporting, and then he basically just got scared of going to jail, not having his medications, which he just mentioned to the court for his hepatitis. He doesn't make any excuses here. He had been, I believe, reporting for probably the better part of 2 years without any violations. He's gotten into no additional trouble. He he ran into a bad situation, unfortunately handled it improperly. I would ask the court to take those into consideration rather than imposing the jail time, Your Honor. If the court would consider, even if the court does impose any jail time rather than the 6 months, if the court would even consider extending his probation, other than this, which is his first violation, he reported for 2 years with no issues. So I would ask the court to take all of that into consideration when imposing a sentence.
All right, thank you. Mr. Cobb, anything that you wanted to say today?
Just apologize for my decision. I know it wasn't the right one, and I'm not making excuses. I knew it wasn't the right one then. I apologize, and if given the chance, I can assure you that nothing like this would happen again. I would successfully complete the probation as ordered without a hitch.
All right, thank you. I did have a chance to review the file prior to the hearing today. And so I think there are a number of kind of mitigating and aggravating factors here. It does appear that Mr. Cobb was sentenced back in August of 21. So it does appear that he complied with probation for a period of time, probably closer to a year, 7 or 8 months rather than 2 years, but be that as it may, an extended period of compliance. And that does work in your favor, Mr. Cobb. The problem, of course, is that you absconded about a year ago and you haven't been heard from since. And that's obviously an aggravating factor. With regard to the jail time, the court did impose that at the time of sentence. So if the court required you to serve out that 6 months, it's really not adding any time to what you had. It's just essentially imposing a penalty for your failure to comply with probation. And the court initially held that jail time in abeyance to give you an opportunity to avoid jail by doing what you were supposed to do while you were on probation. I would be in a position, I think, today to impose penalties even above that, because the 6 months, again, was part of the original sentence. I think because of the mitigating factors here, the court is not going to impose additional jail time over what it already imposed at the time of sentencing, even though it would have the ability to do so. I think requiring you to serve the 6 months that the court imposed at the time of sentencing but held in abeyance adequately addresses your failure on probation, provides a punishment for your failure to follow through with your probation and to report at any point within the last year to take care of this problem. The court is also going to impose any or hold it, any fines and costs and preserve those for collection. And I do think, based on your absconding for the past year, that continuing probation at this point would be counterproductive both for you and for the community. So the court is going to order that you serve the 6 months that were imposed at sentence. You do have credit for 4 days served. The court is going to preserve any outstanding fines and costs, and again, discontinue your probation unsuccessfully. You do have the ability to appeal this sentence, and Mr. Cobb, we will provide you in the jail there with an acknowledgement of your appellate rights that'll explain to you how to seek an appeal if you wanted to do that, as well as how to request a court-appointed attorney to help you with any appeal. In terms of your medication, that's something that you can work with the jail on. I don't know if there's somebody, family member or friend who can retrieve that for you and get that to you at the jail. But that's something that you will need to discuss with the jail staff to see if you can make arrangements to have that brought to you there. Other than that, Mr. DeLeo, is there anything further that we need to address on the record today on behalf of probation?
Nothing, Your Honor. Thank you.
Mr. Rolla, on behalf of the people, anything that we missed?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Mr. Brown?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Mr. Cobb, did you have any questions about how we're going to go forward?
Oh, sir, I understood.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That's all for this hearing today.